Hello everyone, Krydex here, and welcome back to pYanodon's Season 3. We are picking up mere seconds after we left off in yesterday's episode. It's a double header for me in real life, so I'm actually only seconds away from the last Krydex you heard, with a fresh cup of coffee though, which is a very important piece of data. Make sure that all looks right. Okay. So I was gonna switch to fungal substrate, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of things here. What do we actually want to do here? First of all, I have aramid in my inventory that I don't want. I always need to remember to do this. When I do a new build, I need to ditch all of my random crap into the inventories. Oh, you know what I haven't done is make trichlorosilane available on trains yet. I don't think. No, that needs to go onto, I guess, number 3. Because number 1 was the hydrogen. Oh, I get an achievement for silicon carbide, huh? But not for wafers? That feels a little backwards. I feel like wafers are more important. Anyway, yeah, we definitely need trichlorosilane available. So we'll have that come across. And then that can go... I'm not really sure, actually, how I want to do this. So trichlorosilane, should we do a pump? Or an overflow? But then we're prioritizing EGS, and do I want to prioritize EGS over trichlorosilane being available? Because that needs to be available for SAM, and SAM goes into all sorts of things. So I guess the question is, do we want SAM or EGS to be a higher priority? And I kind of don't want either one to be prioritized. I think having a pump will at least somewhat split things up. I don't think the pump will steal all of it. Because of how the new fluid systems work. So I think we'll still have access to some. Okay, so now trichlorosilane's available, which is going to mean we end up with... It'll spend HCl and net hydrogen. So these will start to fill up more, what that means. But yeah, this is an example where the destination will not actually get to full. So we actually do need a pump there. Because it's at 90%, it'll never fill the destination over 90% is what that means. No, that's not what that means. I apologize. If this gets to 100%, it will fill the destination to 100%. Wait, am I ever voiding this hydrogen? What have I done? Okay, so if this gets over 90% full, we shove it into the train system. The train system is great, but the problem... Oh, also, I haven't filtered all these. The train system's great, but... what we're not doing is voiding. Remember, the train system isn't void, it's only byproduct because we can void. So, oh gosh, what do I need to do here? So if that overflows, it gets pumped out into there. However, then we need to say if that destination's full. You know what's funny is we're using undergrounds when we could just use regular pipes. I think that looks better. So if this one gets to be, and I'll put 4 pipes just so that there's 400 storage inside this little tiny area. If that's over 90% full, then we need to actually exhaust vent. Because that means we don't need any byproduct hydrogen, is what that means. Okay, so that should work fine. And then we also need to configure the doodad arenos here. to be trichlorosilane, that, and then hydrogen's already configured. Okay. Good to go. Now, we haven't looked at Fawogae for a while. Let's go ahead and switch these to fungal substrate recipe. It's pretty chill. It's a huge boost in production. It's like not even close. Look at that. We make more than twice as many in 4/5 the time, which means 2.5x overall output rate increase. All for a small amount of fungal substrate, which is not hard to make. We just need to request biomass and logs, if I remember correctly, which I think I do. Wow, that's crazy. These are all providers. So the first requester we have is this one. Looks like a normal requester. And I think it is. So we'll just request logs. Or log. 21 and biomass. Should I really do 2,000 logs? Is that like too many logs? I think that's a lot. That's the wrong biomass. Which is the right one? That's the right one. So we need 20, I don't know, 26. I'm just making crap up. Okay, this is really seat of my pants. I don't even know. Oh, I got scared. I thought I was in the fish block for a second, and I had somehow totally changed what screen I was on. I don't even know legitimately like what makes fungal substrate and how fast. And let's see, it's water, log, biomass in a assembling machine, and that's it. It is used in improved fungal substrate, and it's used in pyanodons. So that means we're already making it for pyanodons. So the real question is, should I have a central area where I'm making these? And I think the answer is yes, because we also have this special one, and we have the other one. And as far as itemization, it's about the same density. We're going from 7 items to 10 items, so it's actually less dense. And it's even lesser dense if I were to just biomass the log. Because we only need 1/6 of a log, then we're like 2 logs to 10. So really, I guess we should make fungal substrate on site. Maybe. Yeah, never mind. We'll just make fungal substrate on site. I think it's easier to ship in logs. Okay. And so I guess the question is, how many do we need? Making... And we have coverage. We do have coverage. We have coverage of everything here. So if all of these change recipes to this one... Uh-oh. The water's going to be an issue. Figure that out in a second. How much do we need per second? First of all, we need 1.13 spores, which is... Oh! Which we have enough of. I am a genius! I think. Or something. I don't know. I preemptively somehow built enough of these. I had to have looked at that number already. Because those are exactly the same. So I must have looked ahead and been like, here's how many I will need. Okay, well that's nice. Go Krydax. Past Krydax is great. And I need 0.377, and that's enough for almost a half belt of mushrooms. Compared to the previous, which would have been like only a couple a second. I mean, I can look at our peak production was, yeah, 2 a second at best ever. So, cool. All right, fungal substrate, and I literally just need one of these. It feels so weird to just have like a lone assembler just chilling here with a giant water pump. I'm just gonna use a loader here. That feels kind of elegant. And then we're done. And it'll use biomass or logs as fuel. I actually kind of want to pick. How do I do that again? Yeah, log. Actually, well... No, we should use biomass, right? I don't know. I mean... This is going to run at a rate of 1/6. Yeah, about 1/6 of its potential, which means the fuel consumption is going to be about 25 kilowatts, which means one log will last for 160 seconds. Yeah, whatever, that's fine. You can use a log every 3 minutes. Okay, the problem is now the belting of all this. I am gonna have to rebuild that. I just realized. Okay, I'm just gonna get down there and get my hands dirty myself, because it's kind of annoying to redo with bots because they don't carry stuff fast and they don't bring it back well. It's far easier to do it with my own inventory. There is still a reason for me to actually travel places. It's probably good. Spices up the gameplay. Okay, so what's the situation here? I think I'm gonna cut off. First of all, this whole build is in a weird spot. Why am I? Oh, it's because I didn't want to have two belts, I guess. All right, yeah, let's rebuild this whole thing. This is very improvable. So I'll pick all these up. And then we're gonna have to widen the build so that we can access a belt in and a belt out. What's the third Fawogae, and will I do it soon? That's the next question. The third Fawogae seems mid. I mean, it is another doubling, but going to 3 improved fungal substrate, I feel like that's not going to be worth it. I don't know. The cost is still pretty small. We'll have to look. We'll plug that into Helmod and see what the actual numbers work out to, because that might not be that bad. What can we do with Fawogae? I feel like Fawogae is so free. We should be using it more often. We can turn it into raw coal at a fairly slow rate. That's not very useful because raw coal is already infinite. We can make free aromatics, sort of, with it. Then we can turn it into iron ore in the atomizer, which is also pretty free. Okay, yeah, it's kind of a bummer. You need Fawogae for a variety of things, but it doesn't do much. And this is an old recipe from non-full pyanodon's pack, so that doesn't exist. Yeah, at least for now. Ooh. Oh, we can make sulfur directly for... Oh my god. Which means we can make sulfuric acid from Fawogae only. That is kind of cool. That is actually really cool. How much biomass does a Fawogae make? It's not telling me. Can Fawogae not be composted? No way. Really? I almost don't believe that. I need to discover for myself. Is that actually true? Can Fawogae not be composted? I'm gonna struggle to believe that if that's true, but it might be true. I also don't... Why do I have a chest full of spores? That had to have been for some, like, Mark II purpose or something. I don't really know. Like, my inventory's gonna fill up here. What am I doing here? Okay, I'm gonna enable my personal bots, because they can help me with this. I don't know why I'm doing it all myself. And then... one wave at a time so we don't summon the actual base's bots. Oh, wait, do I have another armor? Or is... Okay, so there's nothing between heavy armor and modular armor, but we can almost research modular armor. But it requires lots of crazy stuff, so that's going to be a while. It needs electronics Mark II, mech parts Mark II, utility box Mark II. Okay. Alright, so we're getting there, and then now we want to delete these trees. Oh. And then, let's see, we'll shift this left. So that'll be left 1, 1, 2. So these go left 2 each. I don't know if I really even need this much space, to be honest. It's clean. I like... We could use undergrounds and 90-degree inserters, but there is something that's sometimes nice about the classic, like... There's 2 belts, and you can access the further one with a long inserter and the closer one with a regular inserter, and you don't have to do anything weird. You know, there's something nice about that. Okay, so then we're gonna have to turn all of these sideways, like cool gun. You know, like when you're holding a pistol and you turn it sideways, and that's how the moviegoers know that you're serious. Alright, turn those sideways. Alright, here we go. So the question is, do we want to connect water up in the middle? Probably. Because that's pretty simple. Okay, so there's that. And then we've got belt out, which is the output Fawogae. Belt in, which is the ingredients for both. We have extremely small rates on both, so we should just be able to do a classic in, out, out situation. Those don't even technically need to be powered inserters. Okay, except that's not correct. There we go. Alright. That's chill. Do that twice. Turn off our personal bots. Gonna let the professionals handle this. And then this belt has been corrupted with all sorts of things, but that will be the Fawogae belt eventually. Okay, this is fungal substrate. And I'm actually starting to think with all this space up here, what we could use. What is this seaweed doing? Oh, crazy. Okay. Well, we can, if that belt gets in our way, we can move it. But I was thinking we could actually put our spore collectors maybe up here. Feels like we could. It's a lot of space. Seaweed is a little bit in the way, so I might have to move it. But let's see if we put like spore collectors starting here. And we have 1 space. How much does that take? Yeah, we're gonna run into seaweed. That's fine, we can move the belts. They are kind of in the way. I'll have them turn up here and go closer to the rails. So seaweed 1. Seaweed 2. Alright, and then these guys... Fawogae spores. Absolutely nothing fancy about this. I only need probably 2 power poles for all that. Although, does that one... No, that one actually doesn't reach that inserter. Okay. Alright, so there's the spores, here's the substrate, and those just make friends. And then... We're looking pretty good here, so that will come down there. The other one comes over, Fawogae output. Wow, how did I put that on the entirely wrong belt? So there's that, and then there's the Fawogae output, which is up here. And what's the best way to do this? I did make a little bit of a mess. I think we're okay. Yeah, we're okay there. Alright, that does it, I think. Oh, the water. The water. We didn't hook up the water. I don't know how much water we actually need. Probably very little. Yes, extremely little. So that can just be anywhere. If I put it here, it kind of works out nice because then I can just T-junction. All right, that's done. This seaweed needs to be reattached. And that seaweed's attached properly. Fungal substrate's going fine. I think we're good. Might as well get rid of a lot of these. I don't really need them, but... Okay, anyway, can Fawogae not be composted was kind of my... Wow, it really can't. Wait, no. It can. No, it can. So it's 1 Fawogae goes to 3 biomass. Okay. I don't know why it didn't show me that on the tooltip. Normally things show the compost amount on the tooltip, but Fawogae doesn't. I wonder if that's a holdover from old Pi, because Fawogae was one of the few alien life modules, or was it even a module back then? There were Fawogae plantations, but I don't think they had Fawogae modules before alien life. But yeah, Fawogae was one of the few plants that existed before alien life. The submod existed. So I wonder if it's a holdover from that. It very well could be. Anyway, our Fawogae production is now absurdly high, which is great. Always good news. So that's done. Nice little rebuild there. Also, I don't think I took a screenshot for my last episode. Let's do that real quick. We'll get the green SIC in the photo. Oh, silanes running. I mean, yeah. All looks good so far. How's power, by the way? Ooh, look at that dip. That's a good thing. It means our 1.3 gigawatts tidal power is sometimes supporting the entire base. I love to see that. I love to see it. 0.3 gigawatts. Wow, wow, wow. All right, what's next? What's next? What's next? I feel like there's so many exciting things coming soon. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of big builds. I think I've been surprised. I thought Pi was a little bit more, because this is the furthest I've ever played in Pi, and I thought it was a little bit more of like, what am I trying to say? You know, you just need like one of everything. But there's certain, now to be fair, I am building bigger than I need to on a lot of things. If we were okay with a tiny trickle of resources, I could have built smaller on a lot. So probably about half of these builds are twice as big as they kind of quote unquote need to be for like a small amount of stuff. But we've really benefited from having some builds that are bigger than they need to be, right? When we built this bigger than we needed it, we've really benefited from having all of this stuff kind of be like almost free. And it's been really useful for us. So on the one hand, building bigger isn't necessary, but it kind of is, because by building bigger, we have actually ended up paying off. I feel like it's not like we've built so much bigger that we haven't benefited. I think we've actually benefited from the building bigger in a lot of these spaces. So I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of builds where I've built it bigger than I needed it and been like, wow, by the time we actually needed more of that resource, we unlocked a better way to make it. I don't think I've done a ton of that. So in that sense, I actually feel pretty good about how we've built. All that to say, yeah, I think it's just Pi has ended up being a bigger overall builds than I kind of thought in the Pi 2 phase. I think it was in the Pi 2 phase that the builds really started to get bigger. And I think it's actually going to be in the Kimsci phase that we're going to be able to begin to shrink builds, especially in the Pi 2 phase or Pi 3 phase. Once we have better beacons and better modules, I think we're going to be able to see builds shrink down again. So I actually think this could be a weird, like, the season of builds that are the biggest. Okay, anyway, what do we want to do next? So we've still got a lot of work before red circuits, but we're climbing there one step at a time. Do we want to do the antimony craziness? Because the antimony craziness is needed for heavily in-doped silicon. We need antimony pulp 2. I think whatever we do... What is this? Oh, just random crap I built. I think whatever we do, I want... Do I need that oil sand? Not really. Got plenty of other patches. I think I'm gonna delete this one. It always feels somewhat risky to do that, but whatever. It's done. It's done. Don't think about it anymore. All right, let's finish out this build. And when am I going to rebuild my rail blueprints to accommodate the new power poles? That's another good question. Probably, maybe we'll do that in the stream. That feels like that could be a good time for it, because that's not the most interesting thing. Maybe I'll record like rebuilding one of them, and then we'll finish out the rest in the stream, the 300-hour stream. Stream rebuild rail BPs. I'm actually gonna write that down somewhere. Maybe I'll remember it. Yeah, I think that's a good plan actually. By the way, the 300-hour stream, looking at my calendar, because my next, let's see, when do I have a work off day? So the next good, because I'm gonna, about a week from now is when we'll hit 300 hours. So then after that, it might have to be a weekday, because I don't have a Saturday or Sunday off for a while. Though, you know what? Maybe Sunday, November 2nd could be a good day for it. No, that's too early. I might not even be... Well, it's fine if I reach 300 hours in the stream. Because Sunday, November 2nd, I don't start work till 6 p.m. So it's possible I could maybe fit one in there. But... Okay, anyway. All right, so all that is a digression from what we're actually doing here, which is setting up this crazy antimony stuff. So what I want to investigate a little bit is the cost of the, what was it? Was it the no, there was something other than the Dow froth, right? What was the... No, it was just the Dow froth. No, it was the lead acetate. That's what it was. The lead acetate is the crazy expensive one. And the lead acetate is the hydrogen peroxide. Yeah. Okay, that's what it was. So I guess what I want to figure out here is, when do we get antimony 3? What is antimony 3? Antimony. So antimony 3 is when we'll actually want to continue this chain of craziness to make antimony. And we get that at pi 3. So I'm not worried about this at all. When we get to this, we can do a whole new build or destroy the old one and revamp it entirely. So as far as I'm concerned, this build only exists to produce the needed product of antimony pulp 2. I don't care about the rest. And I just want to make sure I'm doing that right. I guess the easiest way to look would be here. Antimony pulp 2 is used in the N-type silicon doping. I want to make sure the 58.3 concentrate's not... Or no, that's not the one we have. Which concentrate do we have? Yeah, we get some 58.3 concentrate. And that's... Yeah, that's only used to make antimony oxide. Okay. So... We do... Well, here's the interesting part. Oh, no. Wait. We need Dow froth for both. Okay, never mind. I feel better then. The Dow froth is needed in both the... Wait, no, what? What's going on? I'm like, my brain's interpreting these things wrong. When I looked at this, I was seeing the Dow froth, and I was thinking that Dow froth was needed to turn the 58.3 into the antimony oxide, but that's not true. We just need plastic and oxygen for that. So all that to say, I'm gonna delete this one because the whole purpose is to make antimony pulp 2. That's the whole point of this build. And the amount that we need is a very specific amount, which is 9.6, I wanna say the number was. Yes, 9.6. That 9.6 exists only for these specific wafers, the heavily in-doped silicon wafers. And those wafers only exist in order to make all the little tiny pieces to make the complex circuits. What I do want to look into is, are those... the best way to go about this? The N-type doped silicon, do those little bits go into other things? The transistors do not. The MOSFETs, well, they go into blue circuits, but I'm not worried about that right now. They do go, okay, the MOSFETs do go into electronics mark II, which we're gonna need somewhat soon. And processor cores are not something to worry about right now, and neither are whatever those are. Or these. Yeah, those are forever away. Okay, so that means we will use some antimony pulp when we're making Electronics Mark II. Electronics Mark II, though, it's kind of like Electronics Mark I. This is almost just like an alternative red circuit. A lot of the ingredients are the same. Like, these are all ingredients that are in Circuit 1. Epoxy is the only difference, I think, that isn't used in red circuits. I don't think any of these things are part of red circuits. Yeah, that's something else. So yeah, we'll need epoxy, but then other than that, we'll be able to make Electronics Mark II, probably in the same block. I'm actually going to preemptively add Electronics Mark II into the block where we make red circuits. I think that's what we want. And I'm going to have to check on every single little one of these components and find out how many places it goes, because I don't want to have something in the block that then we need to leech off of later. So we need to check diodes, we need to check microchips, like are any of these used in other places? So diodes are not. Right, those three things are already on trains. Microchips. The hell? There is a Mukmu turd that uses microchips. How far away is that? Mukmu turd is that one? That's pi 3. Whatever, I'm not gonna worry about it. So microchips are fine. Medium power resistors, electronics and complex circuit, that's fine. Transistors, just the red circuits. Electrolytic capacitors. These are used in a few other places. And that's only pi 3. And that's only pi 3. So electrolytic capacitors, we might want to output onto trains. Interesting. Huh. Toroidal inductors, no need. MOSFETs, we already looked at that. Also electronics Mark II. PCS go into neuroprocessors, so the PCS also needs a free extra output. Okay. Because I plan to make all of those things in this one block. Which is maybe overkill? Maybe not. It depends on how much overlap there is. See, this gets so tricky because what we want is in this block. This gets so sticky. Because if I'm going to put something on trains anyway, we might as well just request it via train for the red circuit block and make it somewhere else. So like if PCS tier 2 is going to be on trains, why not just make it somewhere else? And I guess the answer depends on how many overlapping pieces are there with other things in the same block, right? Like we should make the PCS in the same place that we dope the wafers, because the etching solution goes in both, right? That would be one option, but there's no other overlap. So the etching solution's the only overlap, so then I say maybe it's not really necessary. So I take that back. We can make PCS wherever we want. The phenolic board uses bakelite, which I know goes into the electronics Mark II. So that could be an overlap, but bakelite should probably just be on trains, so I'm not super worried about that. Because bakelite goes into a few different things. Oh goodness, we have our work cut out for us. Definitely that feeling of like, I could be overwhelmed if I was a freak out type person. Now would be the time to be overwhelmed, but no, I'm not feeling overwhelmed actually. I feel fine about all this. I actually really like looking into all this and figuring out kind of what's going to go where. I think for now though, what we want is to focus on the antimony and go back to that. So with the antimony, we said this build only exists in order to make antimony pulp 2. I guess this starts to beg a new question. Should I make a separate build for this? Hold on, okay. So the actual amount we need is 57,885 times 9.6. Because what we already have set up for antimony gets us to grade 4. Right now we've got grade 4. So we're already to this stage right here. Grade 4 antimony. Done. All we need to steal, we could steal some of the grade 4 antimony. We need about 1.8 grade 4 antimony a second for our purposes here. And then it's like only 10-ish buildings right here. Plus the Dow froth, which is unfortunately no buildings. And we need the Dow froth. It's absolutely important. So the Dow froth is necessary, which is another 5 buildings. And annoyingly, quite a few ingredients. Not expensive, maybe a little bit expensive with the lead, or silver I mean, but not like ridiculous in any way. So that means, what does that mean? So that means so many little questions. We'll probably build this chain as a separate block. Deliver the Dow froth. And then this chain. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is just, do I want to steal the grade 4 from our primary production or not? Is 2 antimony grade 4 a second a lot? Yeah, it really is. Wait, what? Am I looking at something wrong? Hold on. Something's wrong here. Why is that 1.92? I'm super confused. Oh, most of the, sorry, I saw this 1.6 and I was confused. That's because most of the grade 4 comes from these. Right. We got plenty of grade 4. Okay. We've got this set up to use up to 10 grade 4 a second. Let's just look practically how much grade 4 have we been producing. Practically speaking, we've been producing on the order of 4 a second. But we have it built to produce 10 a second. Which means we've got a available amount. The problem is if we start using all the antimony oxide, then we run into problems. But I think I'm gonna steal the grade 4. Given that this is something we... Wait, do we rebuild this quickly? Hold on. I was gonna say given this is something that we rebuild soon, as soon as we get into Kimsai, but now I'm re-questioning that. No, this isn't something we can rebuild soon. It's the peroxide we can rebuild soon. No, it's not the peroxide. Is it the expensive part of peroxide? I think that's what it is. It's the vanadium pentoxide, which is the expensive part of peroxide. It's just the vanadium we can rebuild early on in Kimsai. But we're still gonna need the peroxide to make the... I'm losing the plot. My brain's losing it. Too many items to hold. We're still gonna need the peroxide for the... Is it the etching solution? Oh, that's too much. It's too much for my brain. What's the peroxide for again? I think... No, it's for the zinc lead acetate. That's what I keep forgetting. That's why this sucks. This sucks because of the lead acetate. Peroxide will get cheaper once we get into Kimsai. Will that then make this the better way to make vanadium in general is kind of what I'm asking. That's what I'm trying to get my brain around right now. Do we want this to be our main source of vanadium production? Not vanadium. Sorry, I meant to say antimony. I'm getting those two things mixed up in my brain too, which has not been helpful. So once we have the better way to make vanadium, which gives us better hydrogen peroxide, will we want this method to be the main way that we actually make antimony oxide for the whole base? That's the whole summary of what I'm trying to say. I don't know the answer to that question. Partially because I don't know how much cheaper hydrogen peroxide gets. The ethylene glycol is not bad at all. There's a little bit of silver that goes into it, but apart from that, I'm not really concerned. I'm guessing there's only one way to make lead acetate. But let's double check. Yeah, pretty much. There's some weird simic turd later that I'm going to ignore. I feel like I loosely remember looking into that. So then the question becomes, do we want to make this build large enough that it actually becomes our main source of antimony oxide once we have the cheaper way of making peroxide, which gives us cheaper zinc or lead acetate? Wow, what a line of questioning this has become. So I guess now we need to a little bit look into the two ways, peroxide two ways. Wait, now I'm really about the anthraquinone. We get another way to make that in Kimsai altogether as well. Holy crap, this gets so complex. I love this game. That's just better, right? Like the chromite sand. Well, I guess it depends on how much cheaper the peroxide gets. Oh my god, we gotta look into it both ways. So this... So... what's happening? Vanadium pentoxide gets a whole new gigantic chain here, which we're gonna have to unfortunately work out right now to answer our question. I'm not gonna worry about the used solvent right now. Acid strip solution. Oh my gosh. The good news is everything's on limits in Hellmod because everything in here, except that weird vanidates from aluminum tailings, I can ignore that. Although technically I'll have that soon as well, but I'm ignoring that. Everything else vanadium-wise is on limits, so we can look into making the vanadium the other way, rather than just the way we've been making it, which was the pretty expensive method. Where do I have that, by the way? Is that in here? Yeah, this is the 30 arthropod blood to make like 0.8 vanadium, which only gets us enough for 20 hydrogen peroxide. That's the main cost. That's what we're trying to avoid, is the arthropod blood. Okay. And a lot of tailings dust. It's not a, you know, if I wanted to scale this up by like 10, that is an absurd amount of tailings dust as well. So those two pieces are kind of the limiting factors. More so the arthropod blood. Tailings dust is just annoying, but I could make 100 of it pretty easily. So now what I want to look into is the sub direction of what about the 2 vanadium pentoxide? What if we got it the other ways? Which it's like, I don't even know. Probably the best way to do this is make a block and turn it into ingredient mode and just work my way backwards, because I don't even know what all this crap makes. So we'll just work our way from the blue liquor, where it all starts, the Vanabins, arthropod blood. And that makes this vanadium pulp 1. We just need to make sure there's no other alternatives here. No, there is. It can make vanadium solution. The vanadium solution is what we need for vanadium concentrate. The vanadium concentrate is... Oh, we need hydrogen peroxide for... Oh my god, of course we do. And then that concentrate with vanidates, which comes from pressurized vanadium pulp, which is the stage 3 pulp, which comes from... This is absurd, my dude. And my dudettes and my duderinos. This gets absolutely nuts. Okay. Well, let's keep going. Let's see what happens. So if we turn the blue liquor into... There's only 2 options for blue liquor. It turns into this or that. And if it turns into pulp stage 1, there's only one thing we can do with it, which is pulp stage 2. And then pulp stage 2, there's only one thing we can do with it, and that's mix it with ammonia, and we get pulp stage 3. And then the pulp stage 3, we can recycle back into pulp stage 1, but we know that in the new version, there's a better thing to do with it, which is the pressurized vanadium pulp. And then the pressurized vanadium pulp gets mixed with the activated carbon to make vanidates. And vanidates can turn into the... I think this one is the one that ends up making... Wait, that's organic vanidates. Sorry, that's a different thing. So at least for now, the only thing you can do with vanidates is then shove those into here, which get you some organic vanidates. And the organic vanidates only turn into this pregnant V2O5 acid solution, which is probably vanadium pentoxide. Yep, V2O5. So it's a pregnant V2O5 acid solution, which then gets turned with some sodium chlorate into a little bit of vanadium pentoxide, but mostly vanadium pulp stage 4. Now, vanadium pulp stage 4 just gets steamed to make vanadium pulp stage 5, which mixed with some sodium bisulfite and ammonia gets you some more, a little bit more vanadium pentoxide, but mostly vanadium precipitate. And then vanadium precipitate finally makes you a crap ton of vanadium pentoxide. Holy freaking crap, is what I have to say about that. Now, there's 2 problems. We have consumed vanadium concentrate and produced vanadium solution, and neither of those have been dealt with. We also have acid strip solution that we needed as well. That's a separate thing, right? Yeah, that's a separate thing. That's not a problem. So the acid strip solution, not really a problem. I don't think the sodium chlorate's a problem. It's literally just salt. So for the most part, this is all free or cheap, except we haven't dealt with this yet. Okay, so hold on. So the vanadium concentrate is... These are equal parts, so this is a loop. So we just need to regenerate it each time. We regenerate the solution into the concentrate by mixing it with chromium, solvent, and peroxide. So we are going to need some amount of peroxide. What's the best way to do this? Change the chromium input to 5 divided by 100 times whatever it was, 28? Oh, now I've screwed things up. What was the arthropod blood amount? 50? What was the amount of arthropod blood I'm using right now, roughly? 30? 32? I don't remember. Let's look. This has been a brain kill episode. So right now we're looking at 31.5. I just want to compare equal amounts of arthropod blood. Also, it's worth noting the blue liquor to the initial vanadium solution. We're not gonna keep doing that because it loops back. We get our vanadium, so we only need to do that a few times to make the initial vanadium solution. But yeah, let's compare the 31.5 here. Just so we can see. And then that amount ends up with 4.375 vanadium concentrate. So then 1 gives us 20, so divide by 20 times 4.375. Okay, so now that part of the loop is fixed, and now we need 4.375 peroxide, which is what? 0.2 vanadium pentoxide? If we even use that method anymore to make anthraquinone, is what I'm saying. Because why wouldn't we just switch as soon as we can to making the other versions of anthraquinone? That other one must not exist. The chromite sand version. Like, that just seems so much better. Is 0.5 chromite sand a lot? Like, how much chromium is that stealing? None. 0.5 chromite sand is nothing. Chromite sand is very plentiful. That's not even half a chromium. That's 0.16 chromium. Okay. So, worth noting is hydrogen peroxide gets cheap not because of the better vanadium pentoxide recipe. Though that also happens. It's because of the new way to make anthraquinone. Just want to make sure I'm not missing something here. This is a research that's available immediately after chemical science. A new way to make anthraquinone. Anthraquinone is all we need to make hydrogen peroxide with nickel. So hydrogen peroxide will be made that way from then on. Okay. So this vanadium pentoxide rebuild won't be necessary immediately like I thought it was. Interesting. That being said, we get 1.718 vanadium pentoxide out for our 31.5 arthropod blood. I am glad we worked that out. It's exposed my brain to the whole thing. Compared to how much have I been getting? Wait, you do all that and it only doubles your vanadium? Kidding me? Because this is getting us 0.8 vanadium pentoxide for our 31.5. Really? All of that. I guess the question is how many of them can be affected by productivity. Because if you can put prod mods in all these, that starts to add up. Like, that adds up to a lot. But see, that can't be affected by productivity. In the final one, at least? No. This one? This is the final one. No. There's no productivity there. That one can be. Stage 3, stage 3 back to stage 1 can be, but that's not even what we're using because we need the stage 3 to make the pressurized, which continues this whole nonsense. So none of these really can be prodded. So never mind, that takes out that bonus that I thought we might have. Yeah, these can't be prodded. Can this one be prodded? Initial one cannot be. Blue liquor cannot be. Yeah, never mind. I was dreaming. None of these can be productivity'd. So that means what? That means that you put in all this work and only get about double the amount of vanadium pentoxide for your arthropod blood. Interesting. That is a sadly low amount of bonus. That being said, is this even that much work? Like, I mean, it's work in terms of setting it up, but like the cost per vanadium pentoxide isn't that high. It's a little bit of sodium bisulfate, a little bit of ammonia, which is only getting cheaper the further we go in the game. Sodium chloride's just salt. That's just some chemicals. There is a little bit of oleochemicals, I guess. That's kind of a cost, and a little bit of carbon. And the other stuff was already a cost, and we're actually cutting these costs in half, remember. At least in terms of per pentoxide. So we're actually replacing some ammonia, iron oxide, acid gas, and tailings dust cost with some of these other things instead, which I would argue are cheaper. And I mean, that one's obviously cheaper. Except for the oleochemicals, that's the only thing. It's kind of expensive. I think we're gonna get better ways to make oleochemicals eventually. I can't remember. But yeah, 8.75 is only like, it's less than 1 lard. Although 1 lard a second is a lot. So I don't know. So it's 1 lard to replace 31.5 arthropod blood. Kind of. It's a little bit less than 1 lard. More like 0.7 lard or something. Wow. What have we learned? I don't know, we've learned a lot. I'm kind of happy about it, but all that to say, we'll be redoing the anthraquinone first, and that's what gets us cheap hydrogen peroxide. We can ignore the vanadium pentoxide completely for a while. We can keep making it the old way. We'll rebuild it eventually, because I do think this is worth it, but this isn't what makes the hydrogen peroxide way cheaper. I think I thought that it was. So what that means is that this hydrogen peroxide will be free, close to free, just a little bit of chromite sand basically, as soon as we have that research done and we rebuild peroxide. Oh my gosh. Which, hold on, we're getting there. The final conclusion of all of this deep dive, I think, is the answer of yes. I do want this to be the main way that I make antimony oxide moving forward. I think. Is that what I want? That will add in a cost of some silver. Kind of here, I need to clone this. Hold on. I don't want to lose this nonsense. Copy, new production line, paste. Yeah, I wanna have that available for later future research. But now I can delete it from here. Okay, so we're back to kind of just the antimony oxide stuff. So then in terms of cost, I just want to make sure I'm not missing something weird. What was the acetic acid again? A little bit of chromium and methanol. Yeah, so all that I'm trying to say is I think I want to rebuild this back to full size. 23 ball mills though, jeez. and a bunch of lime. Because I already have all this set up. This set of 4 buildings. So I just need to build this part? Plus the Dow froth. What else do we need Dow froth for? Nothing. It's only used for antimony stuff. Okay. Now, ethylene glycol, however, we do need for other stuff. So, though, do we really need it for other stuff? Because we kind of, this one is, well, I might need this actually. Yeah, this is used in some chem-sci stuff, I guess. Well, that one's not. That's a prod sci. What is it actually used for? This one. Mutant enzymes. Which I assume I need those in chem-sci somewhere. So I will need ethylene glycol in the chem-sci stage. So we should put this on trains. I guess. Okay, but the Dow froth, not so much. And chloroethanol is used in stuff, so we'll put that on trains. I think we already have ethylene on trains. Ethylene chlorohydrin is used for 2 things. And I'm just assuming we don't need the barrels, but that's not always a safe assumption. See, like, here's a turd that makes ethylene chlorohydrin barrels later, you know? Yeah, we definitely need chloroethanol in multiple places. The ethylene chlorohydrin, I might just make the methyl acrylate on site. And then output both, rather than ship around ethylene chlorohydrin. Jeez, this is crazy. I love this game. We're gonna do all of that. We're gonna accomplish it all. For now, we need to end the episode. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put on our to-do list, I think, to start with Dow froth and lead acetate chains. And then from there, I think what we'll do is we'll steal. It seems like a risky play to piggyback on this. But we could just piggyback on this and ship out the grade 4 antimony on trains. We'll leave this here. This will be the way we'll be making antimony oxide until we get into chem-sci and get that new version of hydrogen peroxide, which comes from, well, really the new version of anthraquinone, which gives us a better hydrogen peroxide. So for now, we'll only ship out this grade 4 to be processed into this stuff for the purposes of making the pulp 2. That's all, the only reason we're doing it for now. But then eventually, this will be our main way of making antimony oxide. So that's why we want to build it bigger than we need it right now. So what we'll do is we'll actually build this in 2 parts, I think. Because this is just processing chunks with trash outputs, which we could do anywhere. So we're going to be starting with the grade 4, which we'll say we have about 10 of. Why does that change to 10.5 there? What have I missed? Anyone understand that? Oh, I get. It's being smart, actually. Yeah, because all of these put together make, we'll say 11.1. Just to, actually, no, this is exactly 15. What's this? What's the total here? It is exactly 11, pretty much. Okay. So we'll say 11 antimony grade 4 comes in. So we'll build this out. and this will be our pulp 2 generator. Not to mention, we do at least get some antimony oxide as well when we make the pulp 2. And then eventually, once the peroxide... Wait, where's the peroxide cost? Oh, right, the lead acetate, which is not pictured here. Then eventually, once we have the cheaper... I guess I should build this in. We're going to use the pulp 2 to make more antimony oxide when we're not needing the pulp 2. So that'll be a little bit split between that and the train output. Okay, perfect. So that's what we're going to do. Next episode, we will be working on Dow froth and lead acetate. All right, let's write that down. Dow froth and lead acetate. Sweet. All right, well, we're going to call it an episode there. As always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one.